So, you've been years studying, right? You memorize vocabulary. You listen to these textbook audio tracks where every single word is pronounced like a distinct, separate building block. Like, how are you today?
Right. It's very safe, very controlled.
Exactly. It feels safe. But then you step into the real world. Maybe you're in a high-pressure job interview or, a fast-paced team meeting, and those neat little building blocks just vanish.
Yeah, they're completely gone.
Right. Suddenly the English you hear isn't made of individual blocks anymore. Um, it feels more like water just crashing rapidly over smooth rocks, and you're just drowning in this auditory blur.
Oh, absolutely. It's an incredibly common feeling.
So today we're going to decode that exact blur. We're going to look at the physical, biological changes that native speakers make to words in real time. And we'll give you a targeted, step-by-step approach to completely restructure your listening, reading, speaking, and writing.
I am so thrilled we're taking this journey together today because sitting across the table in a professional setting, desperately trying to catch up to the conversation,
That's stressful.
it's a uniquely stressful experience,
Yeah.
right? And the foundational goal here is transforming two main things for you. First, your comprehension.
And comprehension, just to be clear, is basically your brain's raw mechanical ability to decode those incoming sound waves into actual meaning, right?
Exactly. Understanding what is being said. And the second thing is your fluency, which is, your ability to express your own thoughts smoothly without that rigid stutter of those textbook building blocks.
I think probably the most frustrating part for anyone learning English is sitting in a room knowing the dictionary definition of every single word being spoken.
But still feeling completely lost.
Yes, feeling totally lost when your manager strings them all together. I used to think people were just, speaking too fast. But it's not just speed, is it? Something physical is actually happening to the words.
Right. Speed is really merely a byproduct. The root cause is anatomical. I mean, think about the human vocal tract.
Okay.
You've got the jaw, the tongue, the lips, the vocal cords. All of that requires mechanical energy to move.
Like exercising a muscle.
Precisely. If a speaker were to pronounce every single sound, perfectly moving their tongue to the roof of their mouth, then to their teeth, then to the back of their throat, for every individual consonant,
It would be exhausting.
it would be totally exhausting. So the mouth is naturally lazy, but in a good way. It constantly seeks the shortest physiological path between sounds. Linguists refer to this phenomenon as connected speech.
Connected speech. So I assume that isn't just sloppy pronunciation or bad grammar then.
Not at all. It is the natural, logical evolution of human spoken language. And, it happens in almost every language on Earth.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Under the pressure of natural, emotional, or just fast human thought, our mouths instinctively compress speech. We do it for efficiency.
And efficiency just means doing something without wasting time or energy.
Exactly. You're saving energy.
I feel like that reframes the entire struggle.
Yeah.
If you're listening right now and you're struggling to understand a native speaker in an interview, it is not a failure of your intelligence.
No, absolutely not. Your brain is perfectly capable.
The issue is simply that your textbook audio was unnaturally sterile, right? And real life is biologically blended.
Right. You were trained on a sterile, idealized version of the language. Now we just need to train your ear on the living, breathing version.
Well, getting into the actual mechanics of this connected speech feels really essential for someone sitting in a job interview. How do these words physically blend together in the mouth?
We can break this down into a few specific mechanical changes. The first is what we call reductions.
Reductions. Okay, what's shrinking?
So in English, we have content words like nouns, main verbs, adjectives. These carry the heavy meaning of the sentence.
The important stuff.
Right. Because English is a stress-timed language, we hit those content words on a specific rhythmic beat. But we also have function words.
Those are the little grammatical connectors, right? Like to, for, him, her.
Exactly. They don't carry the main meaning, so they don't get the stress.
Because they just have to squeeze into the leftover milliseconds between the heavy beats of the content words.
You got it. So they physically shrink. Their vowels become soft, almost non-existent little grunts. Like the phrase want to physically compresses into wanna.
Ah, yeah. Going to becomes gonna.
Right. And we frequently drop the consonant H on pronouns entirely
Buddy.
because the H sound requires a forceful push of air from the lungs, and that takes energy.
Oh, wow. I hear that all the time, actually. I saw him turns into I saw him, or tell her I called becomes tell her I called.
The H just evaporates to save lung capacity. It's fascinating. Now, the second mechanical change is elision.
Elision. So if reductions are about shrinking words, elision is
The case of completely disappearing sounds, entire syllables or units of pronunciation just vanish.
okay. Give me an example of that.
Well, when you have complex clusters of consonants, like a T sandwiched between two other hard sounds, the tongue simply refuses to make the journey. It skips the sound entirely.
Wait, I actually want to try this. The word exactly, if I try to say it with the T exactly, it genuinely feels like my tongue is getting tied in knots behind my teeth.
It stops the airflow completely, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
And stopping the airflow breaks the rhythm.
Mm.
So your brain intuitively commands your tongue to just skip the alveolar ridge,
The what?
the ridge behind your teeth where the T is made. It elides the T, it vanishes. So
Okay,
exactly becomes exactly.
Yeah, the airflow never stops.
Exactly. The same thing happens with internet, which becomes internet, or 20, which becomes 20.
I suppose that happens across word boundaries too, right?
Yeah.
Like if I tell a client my office is next door, hitting the T in next and the D in door requires two completely separate stops of the tongue.
Which is just too much work. So the T drops completely next door.
Next door.
Yeah.
In fact, I noticed something even stranger the other day. I was listening to two colleagues talk, and one didn't say, "What are you working on?" It sounded exactly like "whatcha."
Yes.
It was almost like a chemical reaction happened between the letters, creating a totally new sound.
That is the third mechanic. We call it assimilation. When certain sounds collide, they don't just drop out. They physically transform into an entirely new phonetic shape.
How does that work?
It's largely about the proximity of sounds in the mouth. If a word ends in a D sound and the next word begins with a Y sound, transitioning between those two shapes is really awkward. So they crash together and create a J sound.
Oh, I see. So in a technical interview, if the hiring manager asks, "Could you tell me about your experience?" they aren't going to say, "Could you?"
No, they will say kuju. The D and the Y assimilate into the J. Could you tell me about your experience?
Wow.
Similarly, did you becomes didja. And your example, what are you, transforms through a similar process into whatcha.
You know, if you don't know that biological shortcut is happening, whatcha and kuju genuinely sound like a foreign language, like they aren't in any textbook glossary.
They aren't, but they completely dominate the modern workplace.
Right. So what's the last mechanic?
Finally, we have linking, which is the smooth bridge between words. When a word ends in a consonant and the next word begins with a vowel, the consonant detaches from its original word and slides over to attach to the vowel.
I could see how that plays out in tech. Like a developer talking about their code says check out, but the K sound jumps over. It becomes check out.
Yes. Run becomes run it. And if words end and begin with the exact same consonant placement, like first time, the tongue doesn't pull away and come back.
It just stays there.
It just holds the position and fuses them into one long sound. First time.
This brings up a massive, highly practical question for the listener. If I'm sitting in an interview for a senior role and I want to sound fluent and professional, should I be trying to use all these shortcuts? Should I be forcing myself to say whatcha and kuju?
I would strongly advise against forcing it.
Really? Why is that?
Because the goal for your own speaking is a natural, comfortable rhythm, not extreme speed or forced colloquialisms. When you are the one speaking, especially when delivering important technical terms, you want to remain crystal clear.
That makes sense.
Your careful, deliberate pronunciation is perfectly correct, and it's highly respectful in a professional setting.
So we are learning these biological shortcuts primarily for our ears, not our mouths.
Precisely. Precision in output, flexibility in input. Understanding assimilation and elision is crucial So you aren't left 2 seconds behind in the conversation, desperately trying to translate could you in your head while the interviewer is already moving on to the next topic.
That makes perfect sense. But, even if your ear masters the physical sounds, there is a trap door here.
Oh, a big one.
Because you can hear every word perfectly, you can know the dictionary definition, and you can still fail the interview because you have no idea what the person actually meant.
Because understanding the literal vocabulary is only the first layer. Understanding the cultural context and the implied meaning is where true fluency lies.
Right.
This involves two really powerful concepts: pragmatics and subtext. Pragmatics is the study of how context, environment, and relationship influence meaning. It's how we use language practically.
And so
Subtext is the silent, hidden meaning running beneath the words.
I like to think of subtext like the background apps running on your smartphone.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Like you look at the screen, which is the literal words being spoken, and you see a simple text message app open. But running silently in the background, draining the battery and driving the whole interaction are all these hidden apps. Power dynamics, office politics, cultural history, emotional state.
Yes.
You can't see them, but they totally control the device.
That is a phenomenal way to visualize it. And the corporate workplace runs almost entirely on those background apps. We see this vividly with idioms, which are phrases whose meaning cannot be deduced by the literal words.
The classic example being, burn the midnight oil.
Right. If you are interviewing for a startup, the founder might say, in this role, we sometimes have to burn the midnight oil to meet our launch dates.
If you take that literally, you are looking for a physical fire.
Which would be very alarming in an office. But pragmatically, drawing on the cultural history of working by oil lamps before electricity was invented, it just means working late into the night.
Another one I hear constantly is cut corners.
Yes, that's a great one. If an engineering lead says, we never cut corners on our safety protocols, the literal visual is taking scissors to a square.
Right.
But pragmatically, imagine walking on a paved pathway that turns at a 90-degree angle. Taking the shortcut across the grass is cutting the corner.
It's faster, but you ruin the grass.
Exactly. It means doing something poorly or cheaply just to save time or money.
That physical visual really anchors the meaning. What about when a manager says someone got cold feet?
The client got cold feet at the last minute. This means becoming suddenly nervous and abandoning a plan. The subtext is a physiological response. Fear, physically dropping your body temperature and freezing you in place so you cannot walk forward.
Oh, well. And back to square one.
This means starting the entire process over again. It originates from traditional board games. If you fail a challenge, you lose your progress and must return to the very first square on the board.
Like the software prototype failed the stress test, so we're back to square one.
Exactly.
So to survive the workplace, you really have to learn the metaphorical logic behind the phrases, not just the vocabulary.
You do, but subtext isn't just about cultural idioms. It is also deeply embedded in the physical way people speak, the tone, the hesitation, the pitch.
Tone is often where the most critical background apps are running, I feel like. Let's look at the psychology behind this. Imagine a major project is delayed and a director says to you, we are currently reviewing all protocols.
Okay, on paper, reading a transcript, that is a completely neutral status update. They are looking at the rules.
Right. But consider the human biology. What if they say that sentence with a sudden, rapid increase in speed and their vocal cords tighten so their pitch drops sharply at the very end? Like, we are currently reviewing all protocols.
Oh, that changes the entire atmosphere in the room. It feels tense. Defensiveness, maybe?
It is entirely defensive. When humans feel cornered or threatened, even professionally, our sympathetic nervous system kicks in. It's a biological stress response.
So we unconsciously speed up our speech to get through the uncomfortable moment faster.
Yes. And the muscle tension tightens our vocal cords, causing that drop in pitch. So the literal meaning is a status update. But the subtext, driven by biology, is avoiding blame. They're shifting the responsibility to the protocols rather than admitting a human mistake.
Wow. And if you aren't tuned into that biological stress response, you might cheerfully agree with them and completely misread the power dynamic in the room.
Exactly. You have to train your ear to read the hesitations, the tension, the the sudden shifts in speed.
You really must listen to the music beneath the words.
So we've diagnosed the problem. We know about the jaw's mechanical laziness leading to connected speech, elision, and assimilation. We know about the cultural background apps of idioms and the biological stress markers in tone.
Right.
But knowing all of this abstractly and actually processing it in a live interview are two totally different things. How do we actively train the brain to handle this cognitive load?
We need to move from passive understanding to an active, highly optimized learning routine. The goal is to tackle the 4 pillars of language listening, speaking, reading, and writing without burning out.
We talked earlier about the pressure of the auditory blur in a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
How do we fix that specific processing delay? Because I know there is a technique that directly addresses this.
Yes, the most powerful tool for this is the shadowing technique.
Shadowing, how does that work?
Shadowing involves taking a short audio clip, maybe just 30 seconds of natural, fast, unscripted speech from a business panel or an interview, and you repeat it out loud immediately, tracking just a fraction of a second behind the speaker.
Wait, you don't pause the audio?
You do not pause the audio. You match their rhythm, their speed, and their physical mouth movements as closely as possible.
Speaking over them while they're still talking? That sounds incredibly difficult.
It is difficult, which is why a fantastic stepping stone for beginners is mumbling.
Mumbling.
Yes. When you mumble, you don't worry about perfect enunciation. You whisper or softly blur the sounds together, just trying to feel the rhythmic pulse of the language.
Oh, so you're just catching the wave of the speech.
Exactly. You are training the muscles in your jaw and tongue to move efficiently without the pressure of perfect clarity.
What is actually happening neurologically when we do this? Why does mimicking a speaker fix our listening comprehension?
It upgrades your brain's working memory.
Like computer RAM.
Exactly like RAM. Working memory is your brain's short-term processing RAM. When you listen to a fast speaker, if your RAM is entirely consumed by trying to translate the assimilated sound could you back into could you, it has no processing power left to store the rest of the sentence.
And by the time they finish speaking, you've forgotten how they started.
Right. Shadowing forces your brain to process sounds faster, expanding that working memory capacity. The translation happens automatically, leaving your RAM free to actually think about your answer.
That completely demystifies the process. It's not about being smarter. It's literally just about upgrading the processing RAM.
Precisely.
So that covers speaking and listening. What about the writing pillar?
For writing and listening combined, we use transcription practice. You take 1 minute of that same natural, fast speech. You listen, and you write down exactly what you hear, word for word.
But if I am dealing with connected speech and disappearing sounds, my paper is going to be full of blank spaces.
The blank spaces are the entire point of the exercise. You'll play the audio back 3 or 4 times, trying to fill in the blanks. Then you pull up the official transcript or accurate subtitles and compare.
Ah, I see.
Those gaps on your paper, the words that vanished into the auditory blur, they immediately become your personalized diagnostic map. You will physically see the exact moments where your ear is failing to catch reductions or elisions.
So the failures become the roadmap. You stop guessing what you don't know, and you can visibly see, my brain completely deletes the word for when it's spoken quickly.
Exactly. And we talked earlier about how textbooks tricked us with unnaturally clean reading materials.
Right.
Processing. We use parallel reading.
Meaning syncing the visual and the auditory.
Yes. You read a script or an article while listening to the native speaker read it simultaneously. Your eyes are seeing the distinct formal building blocks on the page, but your ears are hearing the connected, assimilated water flowing over the rocks. It bridges the gap between your strong intellectual reading skills and your developing listening skills in real time.
I am looking at this system right now, mumbling, shadowing, transcribing, parallel reading. If someone is preparing for a massive career transition, they are already exhausted. Adding hours of linguistic neurology training to their day sounds completely unsustainable.
Doing it for hours would be counterproductive, honestly. Cognitive overload prevents memory consolidation.
So less is more.
Consistency is infinitely more powerful than volume. You really only need an optimized 15 to 25 minutes a day.
It is hard to believe 25 minutes is enough to rewire the brain's processing speed.
It is, if it's highly focused. Imagine breaking it into micro routines.
Okay.
In the morning, while having coffee, you spend 5 minutes doing parallel reading with a short financial news clip. At lunch, you take 10 minutes to do shadowing and mumbling with a CEO's keynote speech online. In the evening, you spend 10 minutes transcribing 1 minute of a complex team meeting.
Just breaking it down into those tiny manageable blocks totally removes the anxiety.
It removes the friction. If you execute that 25-minute system consistently day after day, the compounding effect is staggering. In 4 to 6 weeks, the meetings will stop feeling like a terrifying guessing game and will start feeling like a genuine exchange of ideas.
We have covered incredible ground today. We started by validating the panic of the auditory blur, recognizing that connected speech, the wanna, the internet, the watcha, is driven by the jaw's biological need for mechanical efficiency, not by bad grammar.
Right.
We moved beyond the phonetic sounds to uncover the cultural background apps of idioms like cutting corners and the biological stress markers hidden in a manager's pitch and tone.
And we translated all of that theory into a practical 25-minute daily toolkit. Shadowing to upgrade your working memory RAM, transcription to map your blind spots, and parallel reading to bridge the visual and the auditory.
The mechanics of language are complex, but mastering them is entirely within your reach.
Navigating a high-level professional space in a second language is an astonishing intellectual achievement. The fact that you are actively engaging with these deep linguistic concepts proves your dedication.
Absolutely.
Your ability to operate bilingually is not a deficit. It is a massive cognitive strength. Do not let the blur intimidate you. You have the intelligence. Now you just have the mechanics.
You already possess the building blocks.
Yeah.
You're simply learning how to swim in the current. I want to leave you with one final thought as you step back into your professional life. We spend so much time striving for flawless robotic grammar and perfect vocabulary. But what if the ultimate goal of learning English isn't perfection at all?
What a great question.
What if the goal is actually to embrace the messy, blended, highly emotional reality of human connection? The next time you are sitting across from a native speaker, don't just strain to catch their individual words. Listen to the music playing beneath the words. Notice the physical shortcuts their mouth takes, the cultural history in their phrases, the biological tension in their pitch. What song are they really singing to you?